You know, those of you in the comment section who comment about the law, I'm going to tell you this with 100% certainty and conviction. You are smarter than 100% of the police officers that are out there, the police chiefs, the command staffs, the county sheriffs, the FBI, you name it. Probably because you actually give a rat's ass about the law and how we wind up going about things. This blows me away. I don't even know why we have a constitution anymore. We don't follow it. We don't obey it. If you're political, and I really don't care who you vote for or who you support, if you're political, you've seen that the DOJ has been weaponized against a certain political opponent the last several years. And if you're a real, genuine person and you care about criminal accountability and due process, remove emotions, you should be like, this is ridiculous. I don't understand how we do this. And then you have other issues like federal versus state. I don't know why we have a constitution, right? If I back up for a second and talk about the issue like of abortion. And for those who know, again, I don't care about your religious views. I don't care about your political views. What apparently the overturning of Roe v. Wade did was take it out of the hands of the federal government and to stick it back in the state government. Now, I was a municipal police officer. There is municipal, county, state, federal. So you'd have cop or police officer, sheriff's deputy, trooper, fed. And for the most part, outside of issuing citations and arresting people for domestic batteries and, you know, shoplifting and stuff like that, what the most municipal officers do throughout their life, I don't even know what any fucking agency does anymore. When you really look at the context of what law enforcement does, I don't know. I truly don't know. But I do know this. It's hard to be focused when you're confused. I want to play a clip of something that's breaking over in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we're going to have a discussion about this and what this means for the future of this country and our Constitution, if we even have one left anymore.
Tonight, the Minneapolis Police Department swore in new officers.
And that includes its first ever female Somali officer. Ben Henry was there and shares what she and other recruits hope to accomplish. Lots of hope there tonight, Ben.
There is. The department now has its first ever Somali woman officer and permanent resident, which is a non-citizen who's lived in the community since she was a child. Lindsay, you said it, one word that was used a lot tonight, hope. Mayor Jacob Fry says he sees and feels the department building back up, not just in numbers, but in culture. The department now has 23 more officers. That includes 11 recruits and 12 lateral officers. Those are people joining MPD from other agencies. Some have more than a decade of experience.
Just as they're about to take their oaths today before all of you and before God, I know that I have a sacred obligation to do that all I can for them. And I pledge to you tonight that I will do everything within my power to take care of them.
Joining the department, the first ever Somali woman officer, Ikran Mohammed, and permanent resident, Officer Leslie Vera. Vera is a non-citizen, and Chief Brian O'Hara says she was able to join the force due to a recent law change. The two reflected on a big night and new career.
I didn't see anybody that really looked like me, Latina. I'm sure there was, but I didn't see that. And I was like, I want to be like them. And I want to have that face for my people that look like me.
This is what I wanted to do, and it was very challenging.
What about all people? What about all the people you're supposed to actually serve and be colorblind? Number one, get rid of female fucking cops. I don't think they have any business on the street. These may be wonderful human beings, and I'll let them finish speaking. I don't care about their nationality. I don't care about where they're from. I care about their citizenship and their status in this country. And as she had just said, she doesn't see anybody Latina. Well, does that mean that you're not going to serve white people or you're going to have a bias towards them? Number one, Chief O'Hara, lay off the TRT as if somebody who's on it as well, too. It might be fucking up your judgment. Or you're just taking orders from your mayor, as we probably know you are, to do your job like a good little boy.
That's why I'm here, and I want to be to be a role model for girls who look like me so they can say, I can do it too.
Special guests tonight was the family of Officer Jamal Mitchell, who was killed in the line of duty in May.
Well, number one, we know you're female officers, you can't do it. But number two, here's my question. This is a non-resident. Now, I don't care. You may be a fantastic human being. If you followed any other my other content, you know damn well I love the Hispanic community. Love them. They were the best. And the town I worked for was approximately about 60% Hispanic. A lot of illegals crossed the border. A lot of them did the job here, worked, raised families. They were wonderful human beings. Yeah, their status wasn't legal, but we couldn't do anything about that because we were municipal cops. Here's my question, and something to think about. Is this officer, now, if she's been here 20 or 30 years, great. She's a non-citizen. Now, the way that I did some research today, just really quickly to kind of look at this for the difference between a non-citizen and a permanent resident is that a permanent resident has the right to live in the United States indefinitely, while a non-citizen does not. Other differences include permanent resident is also known as a lawful permanent resident and resident alien and is granted a green card as proof of their status. A non-citizen may be an immigrant or a non-immigrant depending upon their reason for being in the United States. I went to Minneapolis Police Department's requirements, and your requirements, working conditions, state requirements. Must have a non-felony conviction, must successfully pass the MPD background investigation, medical qualification, must be authorized to work in the United States. Well, that's also by Governor Tim Walz, and I believe that this is Ilhan Omar's state as well, too, somebody who's been very vocal about the defund the police movement. Now, again, I don't want to get political on this. I want to identify issues because hopefully someone out there who is much smarter than I am, can I start to identify solutions? Where do we go to fix problems? Is it a possibility that someone who is given a job here when this could have been filled, who is the lawful, legal, who is the U.S. citizen who lost their position to this officer? And how is that fair? And does that officer, who is next on the list, have a right to sue the state for this law? How can we just completely circumvent the U.S. Constitution to do this? Does this mean next that a U.S. president does not have to be born here? That we can circumvent as long as they're a permanent resident, and if all 50 states, because this is where it could be going too. If all 50 states ratify a constitution or amendment and say, hey, listen, 10th Amendment states' rights, we're going to say this on this, and we're going to say that you can be, I don't know if we have a non-U.S. Governor yet, but how soon till that happens? You see where I'm going here, especially with the replacement of all the people who are coming in illegally crossing the border. We have a massive influx of illegal criminal invaders across the nation. And that I'm very black and white by my solutions. Deport everybody, close the border, end of story. This peace officer, if we start at this level, I don't trust her, A, for what came out of her own mouth, B, the Constitution, she does get constitutional rights, free speech, due process, all that. But who says she's going to honor the constitutional rights when she's not a citizen here? Will a group of these non-citizens show up and collectively sit there and say, we're special? You know, we got jobs. Imagine crossing the border illegally, being given a fucking debit card full of cash and a cell phone, getting a job here, establishing here, manipulating the laws of being forcibly evicted and squatting, and then after 3 or 5 years, you know, you've been lost in the cracks and you get to become a police officer. How many of those people? Hundreds, thousands. Hundreds of thousands, until all of a sudden they're the force on the street that will do whatever they're told because they have paycheck now, insurance, gun, and authority over American citizens. These are questions that I don't have the answers to, but hopefully somebody who's smarter than I am can start to look at this and say, this is an issue. Now, you Minneapolis police officers who actually allowed this to happen on your watch, you guys are fucking nauseating. It's a state law. Right? Now, what can police officers do? You can't strike. I know that. You could really have your voices made vocal. But I know that your department policy prohibits you from actually criticizing the department, and you can be fired for that. You don't honor your oath. How? And this is where things I don't understand. And maybe you're smarter than I am in the comment section. You will write this. How is it possible You defend, you swear an oath to defend the United States Constitution and the Constitution of your state, your municipality, your citizens, all this, and you are okay with someone who is not a United States citizen becoming a police officer because your governor changed a law. And we all know how you people don't even fucking pay attention to it. When I mean you people, the citizens of your county, your city, your state, you don't go to your village hall meetings. You don't go to whatever meetings the governor's having to listen to being what's proposed in the agenda so that when it gets passed and you go and vote on shit, you don't even pay attention. You just click that yes box because you hate Trump and you want something else passed. Yeah. We're at a very, very, very disastrous road ahead of us. Because if you look, Illinois has this same, certain non-residents can become police officers. California, if you look at California, they just signed this state of California. What are the requirements for being a police officer? Do I have to be a United States citizen to be a California law enforcement officer? In accordance with the Government Code Section 1031, effective January 1st, 2023, peace officers must be legally authorized to work in the United States under federal law. There are no specific citizenship requirements. How? But I know what you're thinking, because maybe you're thinking the same thing I am, right? Which is sheriffs. Sheriffs can come to the rescue. Because as so many of you have pointed it out to me over the last several years, the sheriffs are the elected ones and the only true law enforcement officers in the state. They're the only true ones. So you would like to think that that means if we have a law that's violating our Constitution, somebody needs to enforce it. I don't know how that works, because so far I have seen thousands of hours of First Amendment auditors proving that police officers not only know what the First Amendment is, but they violate it and not a fucking thing happens. But apparently the FBI likes to go and knock on the doors of social media influencers who post cryptic tweets that raise their red flags against political candidates that they may not align with, right? So the FBI will do that, but when it comes down to Long Island audit exposing somebody for violating his First Amendment right, you don't get a damn fucking federal agent showing up on the doorstep of that cop saying we need to have a conversation. Now, I don't know if the sheriff upholds federal. Well, I don't think they do, because it's federal, right? First Amendment. If you violate that, that's federal, right? And you'd have to have due process. So how would we begin? How would we begin the path of a municipal police officer being criminally charged? Well, I would have to assume you have to go to the county, and based on the county, you have either a district or a state's attorney. You'd have to have a county sheriff open up a case and do an investigation. They'd have to get the approval of the state's attorney to sign off on a warrant. And a judge would have to approve that. But we know we're not going to have that happen. It's not going to happen. If you didn't see the video, and I'll put it in the link in the description of what happened with me in my department, we experienced this. We experienced our body cameras recording us 24/7. We thought this was a violation of our privacy, violation of our rights. We thought this was a crime. If I went to a fitting room and I gave somebody my cell phone and said it was really turned off, wink, wink, and I had that record her changing her clothes, and then I took it for my own pleasure, that's a crime. But not if you're a police officer. Sure as shit, not if you're a police chief. I went to the Illinois Attorney General. They didn't fucking care. I went to the Illinois State Police. Didn't care. I went to the FBI local office, and then one of my coworkers reminded me, hey, dumb fuck, he's friends with the chief. So the FBI had no interest. I'm not going to go over this, but I have even proof that no one, not even a sheriff, this is Mark Curran. And Mark Curran, who was county sheriff at the time for both the G.I. Joe Glenowitz case and ours, he ran for Illinois Supreme Court, State Supreme Court, and wrote an article about the corruption in Illinois. And I fucking commented on it, you lying piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, we had a back and forth where I called him out on his lack of shit. You guys could pause that and read that at your pleasure, on how he was county sheriff and he could have arrested the chief of police for illegally spying on our police officers. Oh, I didn't know. You can read his fucking response. My question is this. If a local sheriff can arrest a municipal police officer, Why is this not being done? Why? How are we supposed to have any accountability moving forward in law enforcement? How can accountability begin to be achieved when you have illegal? I don't care semantics, non-resident, illegal. They are here and they are not a U.S. citizen, and they have squatters' rights now because she's been in the country for God knows how long. How are we eliminating statuses? And I don't care how cruel you think I am. I don't care how sexist you think I am. If we don't have statuses or standards, we have nothing. So here we have a police officer who flat out knows she is not qualified for the last God knows how many years until a Democrat governor signs that bill to change that into law. What happens if a Republican governor comes in and says, we're undoing that? Is she out of a job? And then is she going to sue? And is the whole civil rights going to come on because she's a Latina female? Do you see? It's hard to be focused when you're confused. And maybe now you get a little bit of why I said in the beginning, you guys in the comment sections who actually comment about law are so much fucking smarter than the municipal cops, county sheriffs, state troopers, and clearly federal government, because all they do is kick the can back and forth between each other, and they shirk responsibility on everything. Otherwise, you would have cops arrested. You would have cops charged. You would have cops actually held accountable. The standards would go forward. You would have state governors, lawmakers. Why is the FBI not coming in and saying, Governor Walz, you can't do this? It's states' rights. This almost bodes well for the argument of federalizing police. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe it's time to look and say, no more traffic citations. If a cop does pull somebody over and says, hey, do me a favor, slow down. They did their job. Keep everything adherent to the Constitution. I remember about 20 years ago, I think the Chicago police got rid of arresting curfew violators because it's not backed up constitutionally. Then I started, that really did a number on my head because I'm going, holy shit. Well, how's speeding? Traffic violations upheld in the Constitution. Well, states' rights and state laws. I don't know how anything can be fixed when we now see you have municipal, county, state, and federal, and no one is doing their fucking job. But what they are doing is they're making sure that they oppress citizens. They make sure if you don't wear a mask during a lockdown, they will fucking arrest you and ruin your business. They are the teeth of the government. We have seen, you can't even, in the state of Illinois, because you would think that, and I wrote this yesterday in a post, we have it backwards in the nation. It's not the job of the American police officer to administer justice and punishment. They are to they're to serve with equal professionalism to everyone. Doesn't matter if he's just Hispanic or a foreign illegal immigrant. They still get due process. They're still afforded service and protection under the police departments. It is the American citizen who is to be righteous and ruthless and cruel in delivering aforementioned justice after a conviction in proper due process. But we don't do that. We've taken a step back so lazy. Our rights and responsibilities have been taken from us by ourselves because we handed the keys of the kingdom to chiefs of police, county sheriffs, and said, hey, we trust you. And we don't go to village hall meetings to listen to what laws are being changed, what village ordinances are being implemented. What do you mean I got to pay a $125 ticket because my grass is 4 inches? Well, you didn't go to the fucking meeting. You didn't listen. You didn't pay attention. This is your fault. And I'm very guilty of this. As we move forward, it's our responsibility, or it should be, to provide the checks and balances for our police. We do not embrace the Second Amendment. In Illinois, you cannot even form a militia. You cannot even form a militia in the state of Illinois without the approval of the governor. How does that make sense? Someone tell me where we got so lost. See, this is, believe it or not, this is all new for me because I'm still chasing the ideals of the American police officer being the righteous, professional, highest standard possible on the street that upholds an oath and serves the public, when I'm now being baptized in this world of no one knows what the fuck they're doing, or they absolutely do, but they're not going to do it anyways. I've said it for years. When I ran for county sheriff out here in Chicago, Cook County, second largest county in the nation. If you ever come out and visit Chicago, ask yourself why you see CPD squads all over the place. You rarely see a Cook County sheriff. Out here, it's a joke. Cook County sheriff is a fucking joke. Second largest county in the nation. Our own sheriff doesn't step up and take a crack at crime the way he should. He should be dominating over fucking everything within his county limits. He doesn't, because he was never a cop, and that's a different story entirely. No one knows what they're doing in law enforcement, which is why you get, like I said, First Amendment violators, people fucking shit up, and you don't see cops held accountable. So ultimately, in a synergistic circle of ass chasing or tail chasing, how do we allow police officers like this to be sworn in? How did you as citizens think this was a good idea? You got hoodwinked because of the whole George Floyd thing. You've got sympathy for a group of people because of the color of their skin or their gender, and you don't get involved. And then how do you peace officers, you currently sworn police officers, how do you accept this? Wait a second. How are you not asking the questions? Because we know you're afraid to. Hey, chief, which we know the chief is a puppet for the mayor. The chief does exactly what the fucking mayor says. Otherwise, he loses his job. It's an appointed position. So we know chiefs are cowards. How are you not going to the chief or your union and saying, how is this lawful? How is this constitutional? And then watch them tap dance around the fucking answer. See, again, you guys in the comment section, you know so much more than the American police officer does when it comes to law. And every time I used to challenge you guys and be like, well, that's not the way it is. Now I see that all law enforcement does is take the black and white that's in the text of the law and fucking make it to just different shades of gray to manipulate their needs. That's all it is. It's how you could have a police chief literally have video evidence of a female officer wiping her fucking ass after she takes a shit, and no criminal charges are ever filed against him. It's how you can have all these municipal police officers going and violating First Amendment rights, which, to my knowledge, if you're convicted of violating somebody's rights as a peace officer, that's a minimum 2 years in federal prison. How is it we have a now non-U.S. citizen patrolling your streets and upholding the law? Are you supposed to obey her? Number one, she flat out says that she's going to be biased towards, in favor of people who look like her. Number two, how is she even allowed to get a driver's license if she's not a U.S. citizen? Now, that's a different story, because I legitimately don't know. I don't know. She's got the green card. I'm sure she gets some kind of transportation. How? These are questions that need to be answered, but they need to be demanded. I do not know, and this is ultimately my position. And we need someone smarter than me. I do not know, sans the threat of violence, how to get our elected officials to work for us. Because remember, everything, it doesn't matter if you have an expired license plate sticker or if it's a domestic. Even your expired license plate sticker has a threat of violence as a consequence to you by the state, and the one who exercises that threat of violence is the police. What are you talking about? What happens if you don't fucking get your vehicle sticker updated? You can, on October 1st, be lawfully stopped if you have a September 2024 vehicle sticker on. It's a month later, it's a day later, it's expired. You could be stopped for that. And if you want a cop who is 100% have a hard-on for writing citations, write you a citation. If you refuse to comply and go, that's bullshit, expired yesterday, I'm not giving you your driver's license. Why'd you stop me? You know it can escalate all the way up through the proper steps of your death for a fucking sticker. This is very, very concerning, uncharted territory that we're in right now. California, Illinois, Minnesota. So far, the three that I'm aware of that non-U.S. citizens can become police officers. We're seeing that our own U.S. police officers do not have our interest in mind. They will arrest you for not wearing a mask. They will beat you up, put you in handcuffs for not complying with a mandate. They will not police their own when it comes down to violating First Amendment, violating Fourth Amendment. They will not arrest their own for being a non-U.S. citizen infiltrating a police department and swearing to uphold an oath that I don't know how they can, and then having authority over you, a U.S. citizen, natural or somebody who came here and actually went through the process. They will not, on a county level, hold higher-ups in command staff positions responsible criminally. State police will not do that. Federal government will not do that. But if you advocate online for organizing a militia and upholding the Constitution, you can expect a knock on your door from the FBI. Just keep in mind, kids, fish only get caught when their mouths are open. Keep your mouths shut. Lawyer the fuck up. Don't even open your door if police are knocking on your door. Right now, more than ever in America, we have literal proof that the American police officer is not on your side. And the only thing that I think we have left is prayer and whatever kind of organized threat of violence, because I do not advocate it, but just the same way that they organize threat of violence at us to say, hey, listen, we are American citizens. We have the right to bear arms. We the people. You work for us. And if you don't fucking work for us, you're against us. And I've said several times, the police have chosen their paycheck, the politicians, and policy over we the people. This is disgusting. This is vile. And I don't know where we go for here. So hopefully somebody out there is so much smarter than I am and they could solve the problems that I bring to light. Don't forget to join us live on Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern. I take your calls there. Don't forget to go and support our channel. You could buy the book Before the Badge, available on Amazon. The link is in the bottom. You could donate to our channel, support what I'm doing here. And guys, as always, keep the videos coming to officerdominickizzo@gmail.com. And I look forward to reading your comments in the comment section. Stay safe.